One of the things that I'm worried about with FLoC, which if you're not familiar is Google's new rollout, it's the federated learning of cohorts, and is tied to the death of third-party cookies and all things that we know and love. What Google is doing is they're removing the connection between so your site, and then the actions that people are taking on your site. Prior to, we were able to see kind of a direct one-to-one connection. This person came to my website and they did these things. Now what Google is going to do is they're going to put people in FLoCs, and those FLoCs of people will be in the number in the thousands. And instead of this person came to my website and took these actions, Google's going to say, people like this tend to come to your website and look at, roughly speaking, these things. And in some instances, they'll take, among the actions they take, here are the ones that we've chosen to prioritize on your behalf. So they're helping to keep people's information private by veiling activities from the advertiser. But as I've been thinking a lot about this, because it feels like a tidal wave that's coming that we need to prepare for, what I realized was my expectation is going to be that they're going to create a critical mass event for every small advertiser especially. So small advertisers are going to suffer the most. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to reach critical mass from a data perspective before the data that you are given becomes A, accessible, and B, relevant. Because if you're a small advertiser and if you're not spending much, and Google's giving you the generally speaking people do this, well, you're going to have enough people for the plural to apply, for there to be a generally. And that's going to be dependent upon, industry, locale, positioning, bids, competitors, et cetera. So, it's going to be a lot different for a local dentist than it will be for, a tax attorney, than it will be for a major SaaS organization. But every advertiser is going to find themselves in a position where if they're not buying enough data, if they're not reaching that critical mass from a data perspective, they're not going to have the visibility to properly optimize. And in a weird twist of fate, that actually kind of works in Google's favor. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see advertising minimums the way we've not really seen before in the past. And it's something for smaller advertisers to begin to prepare for. I also think what this does is this gives a significant amount of power to lead aggregators. So, if you're the small, whatever, mom and pop tax attorney, let's say, you're a small one person shop tax attorney, and you used to be able to play in your own ecosystem and bid on the right terms and optimize your campaign accordingly. If you're not spending enough, if you're not spending to the point to where you can actually begin to see the way that people are engaging and optimizing against that engagement, you are at a disadvantage. But where you could turn that around is if you got together with your 15 other tax attorney buddies and ran campaigns that were, you just pulled out geographies by ad group or whatever, and then, kind of shared spend and shared data and optimization techniques. We actually did something really similar to this in the real estate investment space. We had the highest performing real estate investment campaign on the planet, which I love saying. And we sold that agency, but before we sold it, we got there because we took every single major metro and all the learning lessons from each individual metro. All of those lessons were cascaded across every subsequent metro. And, that just obviously worked for quite a few reasons, given the expense involved in that traffic. A lead is $500. And so most people couldn't reach critical mass because they weren't spending enough. In this particular instance, we're not reaching critical mass because the data isn't accessible to you. And so if you were to have a conglomerate, let's say a group of advertisers that pooled their data, you would see, I think, increased performance. And what that will lend itself to ultimately is lead proxies. It's like there's a company called A Place for Mom, another one called care.com, both for like hospice care organizations. But there's a bunch of them. I mean, there's, lead routers. They basically do all the marketing, take all the leads, and then they sell the leads. And, some of these lead outlets will sell like the same lead to 5 different people. Some of them will sell exclusive leads, but it's a lot more money. Some of them will sell you a geography. I think Zillow does this. Like you can buy a zip code from Zillow, and then everybody comes in from that zip code, goes to you or something. Maybe they don't work that way anymore, but I think they used to. And the efficiency is going to go to the people that can purchase the most amount of data, especially given that now the data is not only diluted, but it's also removed, and the more data that we'll have accessible to us, the better. So for small advertisers, it's worth understanding that there will be probably a minimum spend requirement. I actually think that agencies just became much more important, which is interesting because up until this point, I really thought my days were numbered. I told my business partner, I'm like, man, we've got 5 years before automation just wipes us out. Well, what Google just did is Google just made agency work critical, because what little data that is accessible, I mean, you really need somebody digging deep into that, and you can't afford to ignore things. There's no set it and forget it autopilot stuff the way that there was. So that'll be interesting to contend with. But this is, it's conjecture. I'm prognosticating, but hopefully to an end. And I hope this type of information is valuable to you too. Let me know if you just would rather me pull up the dashboard and play inside of Google and show you tools and stuff. But I get a kick out of this stuff. I get a kick out of thinking about what's going to happen and what kind of impact it's going to have, because it helps us it helps us navigate the ecosystem. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. For all my new subscribers, by the way, thank you. This is awesome. Like we've kind of like blown up. I mean, I can't say, we're at 1,500 subscribers, which is, I realize like I don't own a significant pocket of the Google Ads traffic on YouTube, but it's cool for me. Like I do this for fun more than anything, and also to help. Because we get a lot of leads that we just can't service. And so it's really nice to be able to send them somewhere, as opposed to like, I hope you don't end up with one of the bad agencies. And so for those of you that are subscribing, commenting, sharing, like, means a lot, truly. So thank you. And that's all I got. I hope I'll see you in the next video.